Welcome back. If you are new to me or my channel, I am Johanna Burkhardt. I am the soul shaman and co-founder of Magical Soul. Really the place to be if you are in a spiritual awakening. And I wanted to talk today about a blog that I recently wrote, like as in this morning, about manifesting, about the power of projection, and really the truth behind this multi-billion-dollar industry and how we are creating our own suffering. And I want to really talk about this because we are in a space right now of darkness. There's a lot of people feeling that obscurity, feeling like they are um, in the dark night of the soul or in a deep depression. And they need me to be that beacon of hope. They need all of us to be that beacon of hope. We need to be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so it's very timely that this came through this morning, and it really allowed me personally to see all of the reasons why, and I don't like, not the reasons why, but the purpose behind all of the pain that I have experienced through my life. Because it's not like one day I just woke up and decided that I was going to be a shaman and I was going to change the world. I realized that all of the pain that I experienced was my training, so that I was so prepared when I turned on my light that I could hit the ground running. And there's power in that. There's a lot of power in that. It's part of my purpose, is to show people the purpose behind the pain. So I'm going to do that today. I'm going to dive into this a little bit because I'm so passionate about it right now, and that's the best time to speak on these topics. And everybody should be able to take something away from this. And it may trigger some others, and that's okay. That's okay. I want to talk about the reason why the industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, because I've bought into it too. And the bottom line is we are seeking outside of ourselves. We are believing that there is something standing in our way from having what it is that we want, that we desire, that there is something standing in our way. That something is us. We are in our own way. There's nothing outside of us that is stopping us from having what we want. But here's the thing. We are projecting out our own pain, our own suffering into the world. And when we do that, we're actually calling it in. So let me just go into this for a second. What if, and I'm just going to put this out there, and you'll see how it comes back together. What if the purpose of being in the dark is to plant seeds of hope instead of pain? What if when we're in those dark spaces, when we're in those fear-filled spaces, we are given the opportunity to plant a seed that will change everything? But instead of planting the seeds of hope, of empowerment, we plant seeds of victimization and pity. And that turns into a tree, which then provides the fruit that we will one day eat and then prove as to that seed, right? We put out our pity, we put out our victimization into the world. We spit out that frequency of poor me, why is this happening? And then we wonder why it manifests into our reality, because we're actually on that frequency and we're calling it in. The thing is our brain doesn't know the difference between I'm afraid I can't pay my mortgage next week and getting eaten alive by a tiger. And so when we allow our ego to run the show, we allow ourselves to hypothesize what's going to happen. Right now in this moment, everything is fine. You are safe. You have a roof over your head. You have a meal in front of you. Everything is okay. But instead, your ego is saying, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills, which translates into I'm about to get eaten by a tiger, which activates our adrenal system, puts us into fight, flight, or freeze. And in that moment, we are planting the seeds that we are not enough, that we don't have what we need, that we are less than, that we have no power. And I'm sorry, that's just not true. And if in that moment, instead of going in to that chaos, into that fear mode, if we could pull ourselves back, we could center ourselves in our breath, and we could say, is this my truth? Right now in this moment, what is true for me? Because truth is surrender, and truth just is. There is nothing you can do to it to change it. And that's why so many people resist it. What if in that moment we could just say, what is my truth right now? My truth is I am safe. I have a roof over my head. I am okay. In this moment, what can I be grateful for? That I'm alive, that I have a roof over my head. What if in those moments we could plant seeds of hope and light and gratitude? And those are the seeds that grew the tree, that produced the fruit that we will one day eat. Think about that. But instead, we give our power away and we blame other people. We make ourselves pity, or we have pity parties. We give ourselves excuses. We spend $1,000 on a course that will tell us this information. And then we say, oh, that's not true. There's something in my way. There's a block. There's a hex on me. There's something preventing me. It's not for me. It can't be that easy. But what you don't realize is that you have a whole universe within this universe that you see, because you are the projection. Your heart is the projector. So what do you believe? You're the one that's pushing it out into the world. Projection is power. And think about that. When you see a homeless person, do you think poor them? Do you take away their power? Or could you look at them and say, wow, they have so much freedom. They can do and go wherever they want. They're choosing not to be weighed down by the human conditioned constructs that we believe we have to have a home and a car and all these belongings. When we see somebody in poverty, right? Someone who doesn't have all these things, and maybe it's even a foreign country, but they're smiling and they're laughing, and we project our pity onto them. And we take their power away and say something's wrong with them. What if we instead saw them as abundant, as being able to pull together their community, to having everything right when they need it and nothing less? What if we change the way we see it? Because what can happen sometimes is we project our pity onto another. And all of a sudden they feel that energy, because there's always energy behind the words that we speak and the action that we take. So in that moment, when we are projecting our pity onto them and taking away their power, they're taking that energy in. And in that moment, they have a choice, right? And in that moment, if they choose to take that in and make that about them, now they are suffering. And now they have made that pity about them. And now they think something's wrong with them because they don't have all the things that you have. When in reality, they just sucked in your lack consciousness. They just sucked in your pain, your suffering, and made it about them. Tony Robbins says, suffering is self-obsession. You're projecting your crap out into the world and someone else is going to take it. And that's how it spreads. Could you think of the transformation we could create in this world if we chose to look at everybody and see them as empowered, seeing them as love? My business partner used this analogy today in one of our trainings, and she said, if your child's out in the water and they're struggling, and they're yelling out, I'm drowning, and you go out and save them. Are you teaching them anything? You, in that moment, you're band-aiding it, right? But what if you stood on the shore or even in the water with them and showed them how to swim? What if you became that lighthouse and that beacon and said, this is how you do it. Come to me. Let me show you the way. So that in that moment, you empowered them so that they won't have to depend on anybody outside of themselves. But we don't do that, especially as healers, right? I'm guilty of this. We want to save everybody. We want to fix them. My daughter is suffering. My daughter is going through something right now. So is my son. I can stand on the shore and observe them and be the lighthouse and show them a better way. But that's all I can do. Because the other means I'm jumping in to their pool of suffering and going down with them. And that's not serving me and it's not serving them. So how does this correlate with manifesting? Because we are always manifesting. We are always manifesting. It's not a thing that we sit down and do. We don't decide I'm going to go manifest this. We are always manifesting. Every seed, every thought you think is an emotion. That emotion turns into an action. That action creates something. And if every thought turns into emotion, every thought is the start of it, then that means every thought is a seed. What is that seed filled with? What is it filled with? Because that is what you are growing more of. That is what you are calling in. We have the power to change everything. This is why I say God is not outside of us, that we are all God, that we all have the ability to create the miracles. There is no one being playing Oprah and saying, you get a miracle and you get a miracle and you, not so much, you haven't done what you're supposed to. There's never anything wrong here. You're never doing it wrong because every time you deem yourself being wrong or doing it incorrect, you're creating an opportunity for evolution, for expansion, either for yourself or triggering it for another. So I have to say this again. We are always manifesting. You want to manifest abundance and cash money and cars and houses, whatever it is, whatever you want. What is the purpose behind that? What is the energy behind that thing you want? That's the energy of which you need to focus on. And all of those things really won't matter, but they will naturally come because you are on that wavelength. You are in that space. But I want to bring this up because it's coming in, and I talked about it in the blog, and we've had a lot of catastrophes lately. So what happens if you are in that space of there is something to be afraid of? There is a chaos going on. What if you are in a hurricane, a flood, an earthquake, a fire? And you're in that moment, you are in an event or circumstance that is beyond your control. How do you manifest then? And the answer is by your response or reaction to whatever is happening, because we are never the victim. You can change the outcome or the energy of any situation by changing your response or your reaction. I had two dark nights of the soul. I went to the edge of suicide. Let me tell you, the moment I turned on my own light and I faced my truth, I saw the reason, the purpose behind all the pain I went through. All of it. My truth wasn't so scary. In the moments when when we went through the hurricane that we just went through, you can look at it and see devastation, suffering, or you can see hope and rebuilding. You can see communities rising. You can see people speaking to each other that never would. You can shift the energy of everything by your response and projection onto it. It's power. There's power in this. So what are you choosing to manifest? What seeds are you planting? Because I promise you, in those moments when you are focusing on something you think you can't pay tomorrow, how do you know? What if you focused on the hope and the gratitude and the truth about this moment? Because in 5 minutes from now, you could buy a lottery ticket and you could win and it could change everything. But instead, you are only focused on what you can't have, what you are in lack of, how hard it will be, how it's not possible for you. I'll tell you, I usually create a word instead of a, uh, what do they call it when you, for new, instead of a resolution. And this year, my word was easy because I was conditioned to believe that we have to work hard for our money, that we have to do something, that money has a power over us. Money is just energy and form. You are energy and form. This pillow is energy and form. Why should the dollar get any more power than the pillow or any more power than you? Think about that. It's just energy and form. Do you love that energy? Do you love what it can provide you, what it can do for the world? Or do you see it and see pain and lack? How do you see it? How do you see that energy? And what is that telling you about how you feel about yourself? Again, power in that. There's so much energy in this room right now, it's crazy. But in those moments, that energy and form, that cash money, what again, it goes back to, what are you planting? What are you planting? Because that money has no power over you. You have the power. You have the power. Always have the power. It's always been within you. And when you're sitting on your floor of your home and you have nothing and you have no money and you can't pay your bills and you've hit rock bottom, you realize that you had to hit rock bottom so that you had no choice but to see the truth. That's why so many people have to go through that, why they have to have it so hard, why they have to hit rock bottom. So they're willing to be able to face their truth and see, okay, here I am. What is there really to fear? Nothing. Because the only thing we ever fear is fear itself of the unknown. And there's power in being present right now. Presence. The only thing you control is this moment right now. The past is gone. The future is unknown. Right now is what you can control. Stay present. Recenter yourself. Tune into what is your truth. And plant those seeds of truth deep within you and allow those to be nourished and been light shed on them so that they will grow quickly. What makes those things grow? How does your garden grow quickly? By you watering it, by you giving it words of affirmation, by you giving it nutrition, not by dropping some chemical crap on it, by speaking badly to the plant, by walking all over it, letting other people walk all over it. That's not what makes your plants grow. But yet, we think it's different for us. We think it's separate from us. So during this time right now, where you, especially coming into this full moon in Cancer, where the emotions are high, and we're around our families, at the holidays, or any time really, pay attention, be in awareness to how you are projecting. Are you projecting pity and taking their power away? Or are you projecting hope and light and love? And pay attention to your thoughts. What seeds are you planting? What are you calling in? You have to start somewhere. Why not right here? This is something that we are doing on a continual basis in my monthly membership, Magical Manifesting. We are teaching you the power of your own magic and how to access it, how to use it to the best of your ability. While there are foundational pieces, everybody does this differently. We all nourish ourselves differently. We all project differently. We all use codependency differently. We all suffer with boundary issues differently. That's the uniqueness of our energy, our filter. So in Magical Manifesting Monthly, my business partner, Ashley Pfeffer, and I are diving in every month and helping you to reclaim your magic and project your truth, not some illusion that you've created, not some story someone told you. The truth. And it's all for less than $3 a day. There's a link below if you are interested in learning more. But at the end of the day, I want you to know you have all the power. You can change your reality. You are the driver, nobody else. And everything you need is always within you. You are enough. You are whole. You are worthy. Now go and do something amazing. Thanks for joining me.